they make or break you.
Yeah.
Your hires, and realizing and getting them out of the door as quickly as you can. Sometimes it's not, you don't catch it. Especially we had bad, like, project managers, not bad people. They're just they weren't qualified.
Yeah.
And when they're running a bunch of projects and they're, um, yeah. Let me just introduce. We'll do an introduction, Liam, and you start recording. Okay. All right, guys, we're here with Bill Fontaine with Fontaine Plumbing and Heating. You do it all. You've been working with us. I'm super excited for this conversation just because I love talking to other business owners that have probably had the same sleepless nights as me and grown a company. And I mean, we're going to get into the success because you've been working for us for a while, and how you run, what you're running right now is most people can't do. They can't figure out how to get off the tools and get into actually be a company. But maybe you just kind of just start with just talking a little bit about, you know, you don't just get into plumbing and heating. It's a career, but what got you interested in it? Where did you start? And kind of give me a quick overview of, and the listeners a quick overview of, you know, where you are today and how you got here.
Yeah, my short story is when I was a teenager, I always knew I wasn't college bound. Just always thought I would go in the military because my father did, and my grandfather, and um, then I met a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and that changed some of my plans, and decided was gonna not go in the military, but had to find a career somehow. And the trades were something that were always open to me. My uncle was a handyman, and I used to work with him as a kid, and it just opened my eyes to like what was out there. I could work with my hands, and I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of waltzed into the trades. Decided to pick HVAC as my primary thing, and just the career kind of took off. I think I went in at the right time where everybody started going to college. Everybody wanted to go to college, get a college degree, and that's great. And I have two daughters, and I want them to go to college, but there's nobody in the trades anymore, and the supply and demand has really gone out of balance. Where, um, I've never not had a job since then, and I always wanted to own my own business. An avenue opened up where a family friend wanted to retire, and I worked for him and bought his company out in 2006, a little three-man company, and he showed me the ropes real quick before he sailed off into the sunset, and that's where we took off from, and we've grown it to now we're about 20, 22 people. We've added plumbing division, and it's been great because we have great people, and that's what really makes any job, a good or bad thing, is the people that you hire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically selling them, and they're my product, and I've been very fortunate over the years to find good people.
Mm-hmm. So you said you just started the plumbing. So you kind of was the origination was more just heating.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started off in my personal background is heating, air conditioning, service,
Yeah.
and so when I bought the company off my family friend, we did installation and service and those kind of things for HVAC, but we didn't offer plumbing. It's a whole nother trade. It really is.
Yeah.
And I always thought to myself, oh, we can add plumbing. It's easy. It's very similar to what we do. A lot of piping and boilers and gas piping are very overlapping. But when I did bring on plumbing, I had another friend who was looking to retire, and we made an agreement to bring his crew on. And I learned that plumbing really is a very technical job, and there's much more to it than just sticking two pipes together. And I've learned a great deal, and it's humbled me in a lot of ways to realize how much more there is involved in the plumbing trade. But it's been a welcome addition, and again, they're also even worse than us. Trying to find good plumbers is really hard. So, managing the business is really managing the people, managing the customers, and giving them what they want. Making sure everybody's happy, including my employees, because they're so important.
Yeah, with employees, they're your first customers, and then the customers are
They're my product, right?
Yeah,
So just like a retail store has a product that they're selling, and if they didn't have a good product, they'd be out of business real quick. And if I don't have guys who are happy and willing to come to work every day and do a good job and do quality work,
yeah.
I wouldn't have a product either.
Yeah. I agree. Plumbing is separate. I mean, and having you being able to do both is key too, though. And I think we do probably more business together with on the plumbing side because us doing the kitchens and the
Yeah.
bathrooms and the but it's nice to have. I think one of the projects I just stopped by the other day was over in Woodbury. Your guys I just finished up the roof. Now you're going to be doing the heating, the roof for
Mm.
the kitchen and the bathroom, and I think you're doing the heating today, which is nice to keep all
Yeah.
one contact form. But your guys are like, we showed up, they were yesterday and they were there, and it's polite, and you're right, it's tough to find them. So it's not like, it's a challenge for people in the trades. What has your been how have you been, what's maybe their secret, or you might not even know, it could be just you, but to bring people in and hire them and to train them and to be able to get them out, because it's difficult. They're not they You hope you instill some stuff, and then they go to the customer outside of your control and hopefully operate in
Yeah.
somebody's home. I think a lot of business owners can't figure out how to get
To that point.
to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate where we've kept a close connection to the tech school
Mm-hmm.
in town, which is also where I went to tech school.
Nice.
And we 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 keep connection with the teacher there, and as we need new young guys, apprentices, we call them up and say, hey, who do you got? Who's good? Give me your good guys,
Right.
and because I have that connection, the teachers are very willing to say, hey, this guy's really good, this guy's not quite ready yet, and I tend to get really good guys out of the school.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people today say kids today don't want to work. That's not true. Like,
Right.
these kids want to work. They show up every day, they sweat, they work hard, they do what they're asked, and that's where most of my guys have come from. We brought them up the ladder through
Nice.
the years. It takes time though. It's not like, hey, I'm going to bring in 10 apprentices, now I got 10 guys. No. You bring in one at a time, you raise him up. As he becomes a technician, you bring in the next guy, and it's a process that takes time. But and then when you do, occasionally we'll find a good guy from another company who's not happy. He's not being treated well or whatever, and he'll happen to come over. We've had a few of those guys over the years, and when you hit those, it's like hitting gold.
Right.
And then when you find those guys, you say, hey man, anybody else who's like you?
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, they can maybe
Yeah.
maybe recommend a guy here or there. So every avenue is on the table. Putting signs on your trucks, just talking to people you see. Hey, do you know anybody?
Right.
You really got to hit every avenue, because
Yeah.
you never know where someone really good guy is going to come from.
And I don't think people realize that it's kind of gonna get worse a little bit before it really gets better, because I
Yeah.
mean, we're both, I think, younger than the average business owner that's in the trades.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they say the average age of a plumber right now is 55, which
Right.
means for every guy who's 30, there's a bunch that are ready
Yeah.
to retire.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a lot of so many people, and I'm guilty of it too. I actually went to the high schools in my town and talked to the principals and said, hey guys, like, there's a real problem here. Like, everyone's being pushed to college. Everyone's being almost shamed into going to college. Like,
Mhm.
oh, you're not good enough to go to college. All right, fine, we'll put you in the trades. Like, no, no, no. We need good guys in the trades. These people are going to be in your home, and doing work, in your house.
Right.
Do you want the leftovers to do that? No, no. We need good people in the trades, and jobs pay well. At the end of the day, I'm all for college and education. Like I said, I have two daughters, and they don't want to be plumbers and HVAC. They want to go do something else.
Right.
And we're encouraging them to go to college, but that seems to be the push: go to college, go to college, go to college. And there's not a lot of
You can come out with a
push for the trades.
yeah. I mean, you come out with $100,000 in debt,
Yeah,
and if you didn't really have a degree that's valuable, I mean, you might get a $50,000 job.
yeah, exactly.
And I'd say if I would do it again, I would be a plumber, electrician, because it's just you get paid well, benefits are good. But yeah, it is interesting. And I've seen stuff like on This Old House, Mike Rowe, they've been pushing like go,
Yep.
to try to get
Even Home Depot is now.
yeah,
Yeah, they're advertising now that the tech schools and stuff.
right,
I think they're gonna be doing some pushing for that. You know,
yeah,
um, yeah, it's a problem. It really
hmm
is. And I think we're seeing, with the state of Connecticut anyway, and the licensing for plumbing and heating and cooling. I know every state's a little different, but most of them need licensing and require schooling and apprenticeship hours. And there's a lot of guys who are like, well, I didn't want to go to college. Why do I want to go to back to school, go to tech school? And, so they see that as an obstacle. But, um, I think we're seeing a big influx of, um, immigrants and people coming
hmm
from, different countries that come into the country and want to work, but they're qualified, they're good, but they're held back by they didn't do the schooling, that
right,
the state requires. And I wish there was some kind of a little loophole for that. There is some night classes and stuff you could do, but
hmm
um,
what
there's
it
people out there who want to work, but sometimes we gotta get them from other countries.
listen, I mean, that's wherever anybody stands politically, if we didn't have them, we wouldn't get anything done.
Correct. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's and we've seen stuff in from Florida or whatever, and they had whatever the political side of it is, but then all of a
Yeah.
sudden none of the houses were getting built
Yeah.
because everybody
Yeah.
left.
No.
So, you know, but what typically, give me a rundown of what it's, you have to go to school and then you have to
Mhm.
do so many hours, right?
Yeah.
As an apprentice. How does that?
Yep. So typically for heating and air conditioning, there's a few different licenses. There's an unlimited license, and then there's limited licenses. And some guys will go for the limited license because it just gets them something to like say, hey, I'm licensed and I can go work anywhere now. And that's typically a year in school, or your equivalent of school, whether you do night classes and those kind of things. And then the the ha- the limited licenses are about a 2 year on the job apprenticeship.
Mhm.
The unlimited is about 4 years. And then on the plumbing side, same thing, school, and then there is no limited plumber. There's just a full plumber or not, and it's a 4 year apprenticeship. So typically, 4 years in the job, and you're licensed. So it's not too bad, but it just can be discouraging to people who are thinking of getting in the trade. They might say, "Ooh, that sounds like a lot." I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna go drive a truck or whatever, and so it's it can be discouraging, especially for someone who's maybe established and has a house and kids, and they come in and say, I want to start a new trade, and all of a sudden they're at the bottom of the ladder pay scale,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get them in. You know,
Right. I mean, the big thing is as an apprentice, you're getting paid to get your
yeah, well,
hours in,
right. When you compare it to college, yeah,
instead of going to college and
right,
paying for it.
right,
You get and I think the other side of the trades too is the health of it too. I mean, if I remember back how good I felt when I was on the tools, you're
hmm
active. Instead, if you go sit in an office, then you got to go to the gym. You
yeah,
got to,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's an
there's
automatic workout.
yeah,
But it does take a toll on your body too.
right,
There's a lot of people who say, "Hey, I'm getting older and I
yeah,
don't want to do this when I'm 60."
yeah,
Because they're feeling the pain, and that's a reality.
right,
But in this day and age, there's plenty of jobs that you can move to. Salesman or
right,
foreman or in-house jobs that people go to. But again, you'll never be out of work.
right,
And there's plenty of roles that are not, a lot of times the apprentices are the ones pushing the hard pipes and crawling into tight
hmm
spaces,
right,
and the experienced guys are, showing them how to do it. Um,
yeah.
but, but yeah, it's tough. It's, no one ever said it was an easy job.
No,
No good paying job is easy, I think,
right,
and
but there's a rewarding aspect of it too. I mean, it's you're getting heating and cooling into a home, and it works hopefully
yeah,
at the
yeah, you get
end.
to step back and,
Yeah,
and look at what you did and say,
yeah,
yeah, I did that. And it's going to last,
right,
100 years or whatever,
yeah,
and, the duct work or whatever. And I tell my guys all the time, doing a quality job is the number one thing because this is going to be in someone's home for a
hmm
long, long time.
yeah,
And especially the infrastructure of it, the duct work, the walls stuff, that's going to be there forever. And, we want to make sure we do a quality job. Yeah.
mhm. Well, what do you see like your ratio of remodeling to new builds?
Um, it's it's really whatever you want to do. There's so much work out there.
hmm
I mean, new construction is, builders are typically looking for cheaper price on their
Yeah.
contract job, and so you're trying to be the low bid for a builder, and I'm an expense to them, and they don't.
Right.
And hey, this is how the job has to be, and if you're cheaper than the other guy, I'll give it to you. But with renovation, there's a little more to it. It's you're working typically not only just for a contractor like yourself, but the homeowner wants quality and they want to, they're kind of overseeing it. So they're willing to pay a little more for better quality. So there's a little more wiggle room for,
Yeah.
not having to be bottom dollar,
Yeah.
of course you still want to be fair pricing and good, but, so we tend to like that work a little more. It's a little dirtier, a little more coordinating,
Yeah.
and those kind of things.
Yeah,
But
because you're in there. We're in the same boat. The remodeling is more challenging for sure.
yeah,
Because we're dealing, and that you're walking into different eras of homes
yeah,
that are,
unknown things when you open
yeah,
walls, and yeah,
yeah. But there's the customer service aspect of it can be rewarding too, and people are happy.
yeah,
But then there's more. You have to train your guys more. They have, your kind of infrastructure has to be your scheduling. You have to have more
yeah,
people in the
yeah. It's
office to
definitely more
schedule.
hoops to jump through. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But and honestly, I've had a lot of people on the podcast, and we've talked about housing. There's just not housing is an issue right now. A lot of the housing is old stock. It's been built. Everything's old, and there's not really. It's not like different other parts in the United States that they have like a ton of land where they're just putting up
yeah.
thousands of houses in the old cornfields. Like this is, I think, the remodeling, updating a lot of the homes are, there's a big demand for it.
Yeah. But people don't want to move. Moving sucks. If
Right.
you've moved.
Yeah.
I always told we're on our second house, and we moved from our first, beginner house, and we were like, we're never going to move again. It sucks.
Yeah.
So, people think of the idea of like, okay, well, what are my options? And well, I can pay for an upgraded house, a bigger house, or whatever, the way I want it. And I'll probably still need to do work to it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to move my kids from school and all this. Whereas if I just redo the bathroom,
Right.
it'll be done. And we
Yeah.
like our house. We like where we live,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah. And
We've seen
for some
a lot.
people, it's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people. I mean, just this month, and I mean, it's tough because we're a small enough company that doing random things online will create our own economy. So, a couple good blog posts, our social media presence, all of a sudden, it's just like the phone's ringing nonstop. A lot of additions where people don't want to move, or they've gone to the housing market where it's just like there's nothing out there. So we're
Yeah.
seeing, but they need more space, more kids on the. So we're seeing a lot of additions.
Yeah.
Demand for.
Plus the COVID bump, everybody
Yeah.
moving out of New York, and
Right.
Connecticut's was kind of booming, as far as
And who would have thought?
housing market. And
Yeah, because
Yeah,
who would have thought? 'Cause,
supply.
I mean, we've always been, oh, Connecticut's so expensive. Well, it's
Yeah.
not to people in Boston or New
Yeah,
York. We're
right.
cheap.
Yeah,
And so there's so many ways we can go in this way, the directions. But the interesting thing is that what do you see kind of coming up new with heating? I know California has kind of outlawed fossil fuels, and New York's kind of getting there too. What in that way, what are you seeing Connecticut? I mean, obviously Connecticut usually lags a couple of years, but
yeah.
it's probably going to be.
Well, we've definitely seen. It's funny. We've seen over the years things different, and it seems like it changes with the wind sometimes. We saw a big push for natural gas,
Right.
like 10, 15 years ago. It was like natural gas, rebates, tax incentives, get everybody on natural gas, get everybody off oil when oil was, $3-4 a gallon.
Right.
Then we saw that shift to, more recently, to heat pumps. And that's the big push now. I'm not in the solar business, but I know they're pushing that as well. But they're trying to get everybody on high efficiency inverter technology, heat pumps, which the technology has come a long way in the last 5 or so years, where these heat pumps are just as efficient as natural gas.
Right.
And I think the mindset is, oh yeah, let's get people off fossil fuels because fossil fuels are limited. Meanwhile, electricity, we feel like we can keep making electricity through solar, nuclear, whatever bright ideas they have coming. And I do feel like that's the future. I feel like the future is getting away from fossil fuels. I don't think they'll be gone in our lifetime or our kids' lifetime. But that's where the push is.
Yeah.
Heat pump technology. Even we've seen geothermal and air to air, air to water heat pump technology. They're really pushing all the boundaries of what can we do with this technology.
And a lot of when people think of heat pumps, they've always thought that in a little bit more moderate climates, because some of the issues with them was that when it got too cold, they just didn't work.
Yeah, down south it's the norm.
Yeah.
But up here, up north, oil and gas have been the norm, and but because of this new inverter technology that allows these units to run down at lower temperatures at more efficient, higher efficiencies, that's where they're like, oh boy, this could be something here. So you're seeing a lot of that come into the north now, more, colder climates. And so far it's actually been working. Like it's good. My only problem with it is high tech technology. So now you need high tech technicians to troubleshoot and service these things. And also the longevity of them. We're not seeing, you used to get a cast iron oil boiler, I think it would last you 30, 40, 50 years. And these things there's no way they're going to get that out of these. Maybe 10 to 20 years is probably the window. And same thing with some of their high tech boilers, and they've made them so small and so compact, so efficient. They've squeezed every bit of juice out of that lemon. The problem is repairs and replacements are, they just don't have they don't make them like they used to.
Right.
And, as a lot of people like to say.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to just replace their throwaways.
Yeah.
Just kind of just replace the whole
A little
thing.
bit. Like your appliance. I tell people it's like your appliances. Your old dryer used to have a motor and a pulley and a button, and you could, kick it and it would start working.
Right.
Now it's like, well, your motherboard's gone. You need a whole new dryer.
Right.
So that's kind of how this technology is as well. It very efficient, but it could be cranky.
So somebody's got an old oil, original. It's 50 years old. They've kept up with the maintenance, but they want to upgrade. What would your recommendation be at that point?
Well, so I like to give people their options. I never want to be the guy who tells you what to buy. I think that's your choice as a homeowner. My job, I always say I'm not a salesman, I'm a teacher. So when I go into someone's house, I show them all the options and I explain what I believe to be the good and bad for each option. And then, feel them out and see what they want to do. If there's a lot of people who are like, no, I want efficiency and I want to be cutting edge and I want, this high tech technology. I want to be, I want my bill to be low every month, whatever their motivation is. And then you got people who are like, no, I want, good old fashioned. I want it to last me 30 years. So every homeowner is really different. You can't just, to go in there and say, hey, this is what you should do. That's
right.
To me, that's not my job. My job is to educate them
Mm-hmm.
and let them make a decision and then answer whatever questions they have to the best of my ability. And then occasionally they'll ask my opinion, and if that's what they're asking, I'll give it to them. And I'll even give them examples of what I've done in my house, because a lot of people want to know, what'd you do in your house?
Mm-hmm.
And I've like, well, I did this high tech thing and it broke and I had to replace it in 8 years, and I kind of wish I didn't, and I'm able to give them that personal experience. So I'm a little bit old school where I like things to just be reliable and working. I always say the most important thing about heating is having it. Mm-hmm. So if it's going to break on a Saturday at night, what good is that to me? So reliability, I think personally, is my number one thing.
Yeah.
And most, even the reliable equipment, like, the cast iron boilers, they're still pretty efficient. I mean, you're still getting 85, 87% efficiency out of them, as opposed to the high efficiencies being 93 to 97. So you're talking, somewhere between 8% to 10% more efficiency. What's that going to save me a year?
Mm-hmm.
A couple $100, a few $100. It's not nothing, but versus the cost of lifetime ownership, having to replace it in 15 years rather than 30, you start doing the math, maybe in the long term, it's not saving you money.
It's good because I do the same thing. I've had a couple good videos that have gone semi-viral about, don't replace your windows, because it's kind of the same thing. Where
return on investment kind of thing.
Turn on the investment for replacement windows, especially if they're selling you like, really high premium windows on the energy. Obviously, a nice window is more functional and it looks nice, but you're going from an R3 to an R4 and you've spent $80,000.
Yep. There is a level of what's the cutoff, right? What's that sweet spot?
Yeah.
And I honestly think most of the time it is in the middle,
Yeah.
because some of the high tech stuff, again, yeah, you can squeeze a little more lemon out of the juice, or juice out of the lemon, but at what cost,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know, same with solar. I'm not a big solar guy. I don't know if it's there yet. The
Mhm.
technology is really, how much you're really saving versus what you pay, and some of the contracts you have to sign. I'm, not an expert at it by any means. I'm just not
Yeah.
necessarily sold on it
There's
yet
a
either.
lot of companies are making money in the
Sure.
solar industry, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that ends up skewing the reality of it, because there's so much incentives from the government that
Right.
they're
Right.
just
Right.
making up, because the solars, and I understand the reason. The reason is, if we move everything to electric, we need to have, the infrastructure, the power plants can't really keep up with the
Yeah.
demand,
Yeah.
especially if everybody's going to start plugging in their cars.
Yeah.
And but you have, the roof has to be a factor in this too.
Yeah.
We're putting solar on old roofs, and
Right.
then
If
your
we're just
roof
doing it for
fails.
money, yeah. If you're doing it,
Yeah.
are you doing it for money or doing it to be green?
Right.
Those are two big questions you got to answer yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it for money, then you got to take everything into account, because resale value of your home.
Right.
Most people are in their home 7 years. So when you go to sell your home and someone looks at the solar panels and says, "I don't want that house,"
Yeah.
how much did that cost you?
Right.
So everything's got to come into play, not just the $200
Yeah. Yeah,
you're
that you
going to
save.
save a
Yeah.
year or whatever it is.
I know,
But yeah,
some even
I think solar has to eventually we will all be on solar. Maybe it'll be 1,000 years from now. I don't know. But yeah, there is only so much fossil fuels, and there's only but as long as fossil fuels are cheap, and we saw what happened when we stopped driving cars, all of a sudden gas went down to zero.
Mhm.
So it's supply and demand, and everything has a way of balancing out, I think. Yeah. But when the government mandates stuff, that's when it's no longer a free market.
Right.
It's now they're mandating the efficiency of some of this equipment, and when you have no choice. I don't love that.
Right.
I should have the choice to put
And
in
I
what
think
I
it
want.
creates false markets, right? So there's
Yeah.
false.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It creates these industries that might not be benefit as much as people think.
Well, when you see government rebate, it's
Right.
because you wouldn't do it any other reason
Right.
why. Yeah,
Right.
and they have to rebate it for you to try it. We're seeing these heat pump water heaters that were a great idea on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Take the energy from your basement or
Right.
space where you don't need the energy. Take that energy and convert it into hot water. Makes a lot of sense on paper, especially down south in Florida. If you got a heat pump in your garage, those garages are 100 degrees, so
Right.
you capture that heat. Well, fast forward 3 years now, we're seeing a lot of problems with them mechanically
Mm-hmm.
and not working, and warranty issues, and the factories don't want to honor the warranties, or they make you jump through so many hoops. It's like, okay, what did you really save?
Mhm.
So I don't know. We'll see.
It's funny because that's that side's real technical, but even just building supplies for us. I mean, the old, when you're in the beginning, the old timers like, I'm not using this new stuff. You don't realize
Right.
that there's some wisdom about that, because they've been through those errors where
Yeah,
you
you're the
know
guinea pig.
yeah
Yeah,
I mean, Trex deck that came out. I mean, they had so many problems in the very beginning. Now
Yep.
they've reestablished their name, and it's good. But I just saw this the other day. I didn't even think about it, but these apron sinks that we're putting in all the time. Well, it's beautiful, right? And it solves the problem. You have the apron, the farmhouse sink,
Mhm.
and it doesn't. A lot of times it was because you're working against the sink, and then that front panel of the cabinet wears, right? So that's why the apron sink says nice. That's a nice protective. But what's happening is the water's running up over and splashing, and then running down the front of the sink, and then taking out the top part of the cabinets.
Hmm.
So that, who would have thought?
Yeah, the
And it
unintended
takes
consequences.
yeah,
Yeah.
it takes 5 or 6 years for these to be mainstream, for them to get enough data.
Yeah.
So
right.
I've got builders doing, like, I was watching these videos. They're doing like a drip edge above the cabinet doors, so when the water comes down, it
Yeah.
keeps them off the doors.
Yeah.
Um,
There was a tubing that came out in the, I want to say 80s or late 80s, it was a gray plastic tubing. It almost looked like the electrical conduit that we put in today,
mhm,
but it was the early form of like PEX tubing
Right.
and water piping, and everyone thought it was great. You just glue it together and bang bang bang, and it's quick and cheap. Well, fast forward 15 years, they're all falling, failing
Right.
inside walls,
Right.
and major problem. So when PEX tubing came out, everybody, of course, was, I'm not putting that crap
Right.
in. You know,
Right.
we've seen that happen once, but turns out PEX tubing has been very reliable.
Yeah.
But we also don't have 100 years of data on
Right.
it. So yeah, who knows? Um,
It's definitely
Beyond my
helped you
pay
guys.
level, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets to the point though where it becomes the normal, and if you don't do it, you know, if you're still soldering copper in
Right.
new construction houses and pricing it that way, there's no way you can
Can't
compete
compete.
price wise,
Right.
and so you're out of business. So
PEX has been helpful. I mean, especially when it comes probably for remodeling too.
yeah, oh
You
yeah,
know, be
it's a no brainer today. Yeah,
yeah.
same with, you know, flexible gas piping, and you know they've made everything easier
Right.
for the technicians, which for us it's a labor saver. You know, trying to find, like we said, number one problem is trying to find guys, and I'm selling their labor. If I can buy a tool or material that saves me time, then
Mhm.
I've maximized my guys' labor time.
And do you find that too? Does it also increase the you know, with the crimping and all that stuff, it creates a better joint. You're not getting as many callbacks as like you used to solder. And do you feel like it's better or is it worse?
No, not so much better or worse. It's you know, I think a good solder lasts a long time. Like
Yeah.
solder is a proven, standard that
Hmm.
there's no knock on solder. In fact, we still use it for the occasional, like, okay, you got to make an adapter and
Right.
solder this in, and then to go with PEX. No problem with solder. We've the problem we have with some of the newer fittings is, yeah, they use a tool to compress the fitting, and to be honest with you, there's an O-ring in there, and you can miss one. You could do a whole house, 100 joints, and you miss one joint. And we had a house where we did a job, and um, we we missed a joint, and we pressure tested it with air, and it held pressure. So it held pressure with air, and you know, you kind of double check yourself. But again, we're humans,
Yep.
and we missed one. And in the middle of the night, it popped off and created a flood leak. You know, so you know, insurance claim. But
Yep.
it's unfortunately is the cost of doing
Right.
business with these new compression fitting joints,
Right.
is human error and missing one. And then, you know, typically if you have a mistake, you can find it. You know, if there's something, you know, we pressure test
Right.
and can usually find it. But no, I would say we don't have 100-year data on
Right.
these O-ring
Right.
compression. You know, what's going to happen in 100 years from now? What's it going to look like? We don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas solder, we know what it looks like 100 years later.
Yeah.
It still seems to hold.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the plastic stuff is interesting because they're realizing that maybe there's a health issue there too. I wonder what the next
So,
asbestos is going to be.
yeah, right.
Or
As long as we have lawyers in the world, there'll always be the next asbestos.
yeah, because I mean, we put asbestos in everything back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, that was just like, it's great glue.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Let's
cures
do
what ails
it.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, fiberglass. You know, I always, you know, we get the blown in insulation. We still have these things out
Yeah.
there. Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, who knows what chemical, you know, thing is gonna happen that we don't know about, right?
Right.
You don't know until you find out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
the stuff in the concrete. Well, what is anything? Because we just did something in a nice bathroom. We kind of got the interior design involved. So we haven't done any of this yet. But I was like, I hope Bill knows how to do this because I just told the client about it. The nice controls for the showers now
Mhm.
that are, electronic
Yeah.
because these people want to it's one of those the clients that we love to do with because they're like, hey, let's make this special, let's make this elevated luxury.
Yeah.
We've got the extra money.
Yeah.
What has your experience been in those?
Yeah, it's the new toy for the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like makes it, you know, oh, look at my shower, you know, it's better than your shower, right?
Right.
So, no, it's fine, and you know, you always have to evolve with the trade. Um, you know, it's constantly moving, and we have to too, or else you get left behind.
Yeah.
We've done, you know, different stuff like that. There's smart toilets now that, you
Mhm.
know, they know when you enter the room, and they, you know, the top comes up for you,
Yeah.
and you know, it's crazy what's out there, but for the most part, at the end of the day, it's plumbing, you know, or it's HVAC. You know,
Right.
we're connecting the pipe, we're doing the thing, and we're making it, you know, push water. You know, so when it comes to the controls, yeah, you're never gonna know all the ins and outs of all the controls and how come it's not working. Most companies are pretty good about having tech help.
Mhm.
You can call them up and say, hey, I'm pressing the button and it's beeping and it's got an error code 5, and what do I do? Oh,
Mhm.
okay, well, adjust this thing here. So you got to be willing to learn on the fly
Mm.
because you can never know it all.
Right. I kind of like the idea of it though, because like the valve wasn't actually in the shower itself; it was on the wall outside.
Hmm.
So and I saw some stuff where they had the valves in the basement or in another area, and then the pad was actually in the bathroom itself. And I
Yep.
was like, that's kind of cool because now you have on a service basis, you're not trying to take apart the valve that's in around, where
Hmm.
it's all tiled or,
Yeah.
it's probably a little bit easier to service.
Yeah, no, same thing though. Like, the higher the technology and the more parts and components and
Right.
computers involved, the more likely it is to need
Yeah.
service and,
Yeah.
be something that needs maintenance,
Right.
but that's the cost of doing business with anything.
Yeah.
Same with cars today, right? Like
Yeah.
cars are more, they're more efficient, they run better, they don't stall out like they used to when we were kids and stuff.
Mhm.
Like cars are better than they used to be. They last longer, but they're harder to fix and they
Yeah.
need more attention when something does break. And
Yeah.
so.
And it's a little scary because it's like, sometimes your Bluetooth still doesn't connect.
Yeah, right.
So
And you
you
don't know
put
what
all
to
this
do. Yeah, yeah,
technology in,
yeah.
it's you can't like you said, you can't kick the dryer
Yeah.
anymore and make it work.
Sometimes you're chasing the ghost in the machine, we say.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like it doesn't do it when we're here, but
Right.
there's definitely a problem somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, my car's the same way. Like sometimes the screen will go blank. Like, well, what is it?
Right.
Do I bring it back, or
Yeah.
next time I start the car, it's fine?
Yeah.
But is there a problem?
Which
I
is
don't know.
which is scary because you probably I don't think I even know how to get anywhere anymore. That you follow the GPS.
Yeah.
Like,
What did we do before?
Yeah.
The technology.
It's
Yeah, but we adapted, right?
Right.
And my guys are adapting now to we're trying to integrate. Well, we are integrating computers into our daily service calls and
Mhm.
jobs, and the guys need to log in and complete their work on the iPad and those kind of
Right.
things. And that's new to some of my older
Mhm.
mechanics who are like, whoa, I just want to go fix plumbing or whatever. And I'm the same way. I'm kind of old school, and but again, we have to learn the new technology and
Yeah.
get with the times, or else we get left behind. And um, if you don't adapt, you die. As a
How do
business.
you broach that with as a business owner? How do you kind of get people in the same direction and move forward? What's your tactic or
Yeah, well, as the leader of the company, you're the visionary, and you're the one who says, "Hey, we're going this direction."
Mhm.
And most people, if you explain the benefits, you explain that, hey, this is actually going to make our life easier. Here's the benefits. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be, you're going to have some resistance from some people, and but the reality is, this is where we're going. This is why we're going there, and let's go. And usually, most people will get on board with that, and the ones who don't,
Yeah.
this is where we're going. Are
Yeah.
you one of
Yeah,
us?
that's
You know what I
very
mean?
good.
And
Yeah.
it is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You try to make it as simple as possible. We take, we do training.
Mhm.
We invested a lot of time and money into it,
Yeah.
and we're actually way behind on this stuff. Most of
Right.
these people were doing this 20 years ago. I'm
Mhm.
I'm just finally catching up now. So, yeah, it's providing leadership and communicating
Yeah.
honestly with
Yeah.
the guys.
Yeah.
You're not trying to pull the hood over their eyes, and
Yeah.
and showing them why it's better for them too, I think is
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, getting some of the people on the team that embrace it quicker so that then then they can talk about it and get kind of bring people along. People don't
Yeah,
like
most of the young
change.
guys, when it
Yeah.
comes to computers, most of the young guys are on board.
Yeah.
They've been dealing with computers their whole lives or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the older crowd like myself who, oh, geez, I've always wrote it on paper
Right.
and it's always been fine. Why do we
Right.
got to change it? That kind of thing.
It's tough. I mean, I'm in the office, right? I got 3 big screens, but then I got a bunch of legal pads on
Yeah,
the bottom
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm still trying to,
Yeah.
and I could probably not need the legal pads at all. But you kind of get stuck and your mind works a certain way.
Yeah, yeah, and that's okay, right? Everybody's a little different, and you at the end of the day, just you want to get the job done, which is make the customer happy and get the
Right.
job, and bill it out and those kind of things. But being all on the same page, though, when you have a company and you got 20 some odd people, you can't have people doing off one
Right.
way and other
Yeah.
people doing. It's got to be concentric in the way it's all done. Yeah.
I think that's a key when you start to scale and you bring that many people. How can I get a consistent experience to the client?
Right.
Because you have some A players and you got some. Hopefully, you only have B players. You don't have any C players, but you want to be able to make sure the B players are giving it a similar experience.
Right.
which I think
Yeah, that comes through training
Yeah.
and meetings and talking, and when a problem comes up, um, you let people know, this is what happened, and this is how we should be handling this during this situation.
hmm
And one good thing for us too is when we get positive feedback, we make sure we share that as well,
yeah,
because these guys need to know that, oh wow, I did a good thing,
mhm,
and it was, it got recognized by not only the customer but by my coworkers, my boss, and that gives them that gives them something to look forward to do that again,
mhm.
and do a good job. And we you got to hit things from every angle, but I think people respond to positive feedback, more than negative feedback. But sometimes you gotta let the negative be known too, and it's there, so you don't repeat that problem.
Yeah, people want to get feedback, know where they're at. They do something, that they don't realize they're doing wrong. They want
Right,
to,
right,
they
yeah,
want that.
yeah,
But all the people that we've hired, most people are leaving somewhere not because of money or for benefits. Some are. Most of them are because they're being treated
right,
wrong.
yeah,
You know, so it's been interesting. The growth. Um, we had more in house. We've moved more to subcontracting just because I couldn't control the cost
mm,
with with the carpenters. Now we just do more pieces, like get this part of the project done, and it helps. But it's been interesting, being able to hire people and being kind and helping
yeah.
goes a long way. Like you
Yeah, we
don't
always say people
realize.
don't leave jobs, they leave
Yeah,
situations, right? Because for the most part, if you're a plumber, you're going from one plumbing job to the next plumbing job. Plumbing doesn't change.
right.
It's the situation that changes, and
Yeah.
that situation can be multiple things, whether it's I'm moving, or I don't like my boss, or I don't like my coworkers, or I'm not getting paid enough, is sometimes the factor, but it's the situation that I think people are looking
hmm
for, or something better. And if you can take care of your guys, you treat them,
Right.
with respect, and you pay them fair,
Yeah.
and you give them what they're looking for, why would they leave? If you have a culture of, a good culture of, of a, family. I know that kind of gets
hmm
overused in businesses, like, oh, we're a family, but culture is what's important.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can come to work and you like your coworkers, and you enjoy, coming in every day, or at least, don't hate it, right?
hmm
I think if we were all billionaires, we wouldn't come to work and do plumbing
right.
and
Right.
HVAC. But knowing that we have to work, you want to enjoy
Yeah.
your culture.
I think backing your employees too. I've seen that's been a big result. Like you have a client that's just being a little challenging, to be able to say, "Hey, no, listen, my guy did the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
He's doing a good
Yeah.
job." That I've seen gone a long way too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing, as an employee, knowing that your boss has your back,
Yeah.
and is going to protect. Obviously, if they're not doing the right thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
good
yeah. We
luck.
had a situation this morning where we had a customer who needed a repair. We gave him a price over the phone of what it would need, to be done, um, and they asked for an explanation of why it was so, expensive in their
hmm
mind, and you try to explain those things, but really we're guessing on what it's going to take to
Yeah.
fix it, and you estimate your hours, you estimate your materials, and sometimes you go there and the job goes quicker than you expected, and it looks like you not that we hustled them, but like, oh geez, you were done in an
Right.
hour, why is
Right.
it so expensive? And there's other times it took me 8 hours and I lost money, I
Right.
didn't charge you more.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of settle that with the customer and try to make them happy. At the end of the day, you want them to come back and you want them to be
hmm
happy. You don't want anyone with a bad taste in their mouth. You don't grow a business that way.
Right.
And um, you know so you try to do what you got to do to make them happy. But at the end of the day, I didn't tell my guys they did anything wrong, because they didn't.
Right.
They priced it what they thought was appropriate for the job, and I probably would have done the same. And they went there and they did a fast job and got it done quick. And that's nothing wrong with that either, right?
hmm
So, and I was sure to tell my guys, listen, I don't think you did anything wrong, but I'm going to give them a little discount here, just
Yeah.
to keep them happy and keep them as a customer. And sometimes those things happen. Um, I don't think they were. Sometimes people go through tight money situations and they're
hmm
just trying to, you know, s- you know, it, you know, what we do is not cheap. So I
Yeah.
get it. I could be tight with money too sometimes.
Right.
So, but yeah, you back your guys up. You say you didn't do anything wrong,
hmm
but we're going to also kind of give this customer a little break and,
Yeah.
and help them out.
Yeah, those are tough decisions because you have to weigh all the options. Because most of the time, it's a lot of time when we're in people's homes and we're in people's homes for long periods of time. They might have issues like family issues that we're getting the brunt of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
they're
for
going
sure.
through a
Yeah.
challenging
Yeah.
time, and they don't have anybody else to yell at, so you end up being the person
Yeah.
that they yell at.
Yeah.
And usually it doesn't really have anything to do with us. It just we're
Yep.
the people that
Yeah.
that
Well, especially with you guys. You guys are in, like you said, you're in the house for a long time. Like things are going to happen. You know, there's going to be maybe a boot print on the ground or something.
yeah,
You know, whatever. Someone
yeah,
left the door open. I don't know.
yeah,
But you know, the longer you're exposed to someone, the more chance of
yeah.
you know frustration, and you're in their home. You know. Yeah.
And I think that people just don't understand or even have the right expectations. You know, when we had a bigger sales team before, but they was just like, yeah, yeah, everything's good. It's going to be beautiful. And now we're trying to more of a triage, be like, no, 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 we're going to be in your home for like 4 to 6 months, and we're going to set up a construction site,
Yeah.
and we're going to have, things are going to go wrong. We're going to open things up, and it's going to be noisy, and it's going to be, and there's a lot that goes into it, that you're not even seeing. There's going to be an office behind all of this, making all the orders and doing all the schedules. And I don't think people realize, like, to your point, well, you came in and it was done in 2 hours, and they thought, well, that's ridiculous. You're
Yeah.
ripping me off. And it's like, well, all my experience, your experience training the guys, getting them to the point where they know how to do it, knowing what product to bring in. Then there's travel time. Somebody had to schedule that travel time, the insurance. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No, the new truck. You know, trucks are
right,
60 grand a piece
right,
now.
and
It's
that
like,
doesn't have anything in
yeah,
it. That's a
everything's got a
roll-up
price to
window.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
No, and yeah, you're right. And you're paying for the full complete pack. You're paying
Right.
that when you called me, someone answered the phone.
Right.
We don't do press one for, person,
Right.
whatever. Like you're going to get a person.
Right.
Even after hours, like we have a answering service, so and then when things go crappy, you can call, and guess what? Bill Fontaine, the owner of the
Right.
company, picked up the phone and talked to you.
Right.
That's you don't get that everywhere either. So
Right.
I always say we're not cheap. We try to be fair.
Yeah.
We got a lot of bills to pay. We make good money,
Right.
and we're going to give you a good product,
Yeah.
and we're going to try to make you happy to the best of our ability. And that's not cheap,
No.
unfortunately. But
I love because we get a lot of leads from Facebook, but I kind of like read this stuff. There's so much nonsense out there. Can I have a reasonable, and it's just like, no, like, why is there a dollar amount? And I get it. There's a certain amount you have to have a budget, but when you are gonna go find the surgeon to do your heart surgery, do you really go to the cheapest guy?
Right,
Like,
right.
is that
Yeah.
really in your
yeah, when you
best
buy a
interest?
car, do you buy the
Yeah.
cheapest car you can
Yeah.
find? No.
Yeah.
When you go on vacation, you buy the cheapest vacation
Right,
you can
right,
find? No,
right.
you go on a good vacation.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree, but it's I think the human natural instinct for contractors is, well, they all do the same thing, and it's all, they're just going to put the door in, or they're going to fix the heat, and I just want to get it as cheap as possible, almost like a car mechanic. Maybe we think the same way with car mechanics or something, like just fix the problem and let me go drive my car. But yeah, the reality is not all contractors are the same, and you experience that when you start calling around. They take us for granted because we
Right.
do answer the phone, we do all these things. People have been with us for years, and that's all they know. Well, try calling another contractor, see if they answer the phone, see if they show up, see what they charge.
Right.
There's a lot of companies out there doing the bait and switch as well, and they'll come out and say, perhaps this customer who, if it was $1,100 repair, this other company might come in and say it's a $4,000 repair, and you need this, or we can put a new boiler in for you for 10 grand. And it's like, oh, geez, why put $4,000 into a boiler if I can do, 10 grand and get a whole new one? So it's like. And then the reality of that situation was, no, you just need an $1,100 repair,
Right.
and your boiler's fine. So some of these companies out there that are my competitors, I won't name them, but it's,
Yeah.
I don't feel good. I don't feel right about it. I feel
Right.
like they're wolves in sheep's clothing coming into your house, and they're not out there in your best interest.
Right.
They're in your house in their best interest.
Yeah.
And, in my mind, when a customer hires me, I work for you. I work in your best interest. And what can I do for you so that you're happy, you're up and running, and you come back to me in the future, because that's how I survive, as a business for over,
We've kind
the
of
long term.
toyed with that aspect, because I that's how from how I feel in my heart is to try to really just be the consultant, right?
Mhm.
But some of that times is like you have a machine to feed, and you have to bring in work. And we've been and I've actually been brought this back on my radar to create more of a consultation. Like, hey, I can give you a quick number, but if you want to pay for my time, I can come in and actually, be compensated for my time, and then give you, not really have to think about a sale.
Mhm.
So you can say, and we've started to do that now, where we're not giving quotes for kitchens or anything that's over $100,000. We're just going to say, listen, we're going to put together the right numbers and give you options based off of your budget, and it's going to be $5,000 or it's going to be $7,500. We'll add some plans to that. So, and we've actually seen a good result from that, because it's like, and if you don't like what we have, then we can part ways at that point.
Right.
But at least we can actually give you good information, because we're being, paid for our time. I mean, we're professionals. Like, so it's interesting it might be tough in your business because it's more of smaller.
Yeah, we do the same thing in commercial, like bigger
Yeah.
commercial projects. They'll come to us and say, "Hey, we want this giant commercial project
Right.
that's kind of have this open-ended, hundreds of $1,000.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, you should probably have that engineered and make a set of prints because, I can do something that'll work. There's no doubt about it. Like I can, I've been around enough where I can make this work and make it warm and cold.
Right.
But the reality is, I also realize I don't know what I don't know.
Mhm.
And when it comes to fire codes,
Mhm.
sprinkler codes, emergency exit codes, those kind of things that, in a commercial building, they come into play.
Right.
And if you're doing yourself a disservice if you just hire me to do something and then it turns out it gets inspected and, oh, geez, you didn't do it the right way
Right.
per fire code. So, hiring an engineer is usually the right course for something like that, where they see the big picture, an engineer, architects, whatever, they do their magic.
Right.
And they put something on print, and now you can bid it out, and I'm happy to
Right.
bid it and be one of your bidders.
Yeah.
But I'm doing you a disservice if I just lie to you and say, this is how you should do it, and
Right.
here's a quick number, and don't
Yeah.
call anyone else. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
Really doing everybody a disservice.
Yeah. The problem is in the residential, there's that middle part where the architects and the designers and stuff it's too small.
Mhm.
So then people are using, just the trades to get information, and
Right.
you
Yeah.
end up getting all this different type of information. And
I've had builders, like yourself, come to me and say, not you, but say, don't give them too much information, like,
Right.
you because they'll just use it against you and go do their own thing or something. It's like,
Right.
well, I never feel like information is something to withhold from people personally, but you want to go do it. But
Yeah.
but yeah, sometimes they'll do whatever they want, and
Right. And they're not your customer.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. At
yeah,
that point,
yeah.
it doesn't matter to me. But
We're starting to get more picky, because we're in bed with somebody for a while. When
Yeah.
when you take on a big project, like it's a relationship.
yeah,
So we actually just fired somebody the other day. It was just in the design stage, and it was just like, we're not aligned right now, and I don't think we can get aligned before we actually start the build. Let's, here's your retainer back. Like,
they fired the customer. You mean?
yeah, because it's just like,
Right. Yeah.
You
You
know,
can tell when it's going to be a.
it's just going to be a nightmare. And,
Yeah.
and those clients that are challenging are the ones that are going to, take 80% of that project manager's time.
Yep.
Where now he can't go and help out all the good clients that are pleasant.
Yep.
Yeah.
We run the same thing on, usually a little bit smaller scale for us, but
Right.
yeah. We have a couple now that's, and sometimes you deal with legitimate, like mental health issues too.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
deal with everything, and there's people who are, maybe on the borderline of dementia and those kind of
Mhm.
things, and they got no heat, and they're seeing things as being wrong, but then you go there and nothing's wrong, but
Ooh,
they,
yeah.
maybe perception is reality, and you try to do what you can to make them happy, but then all of a sudden you realize there's something wrong here. They're not,
Mhm.
and maybe you got to get a family member involved or something, and that's part of dealing with people, but at the same time you deal with it because you feel bad for them, and you're trying to help them, but there's so many different, everybody's unique, every person is different, and every situation is different, and you got to be willing to have compassion for people
Yeah.
where they are, but sometimes financially, it just doesn't work. I'm sorry, you have to find somebody else.
Right.
I can't deal with this right now because we're flat out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just not a fit.
Yeah.
And that's as you get further along in your business career, it's you realize work for the people that align with you energetically.
Yeah, right,
and,
right.
and then all the other people will lose your number, which
Yeah, you
is
can refer them to your competition that is
yeah,
more like them.
yeah, exactly. So I mean that was quick. I want to think about time. Any other thought? What do you think that most people don't know about the industry in plumbing? What would be like the biggest question that or like, wow, I didn't realize um, that you get?
Um, yeah, I think that people don't realize how technical it is and
Mhm.
how, I think they just look at something and think, well, you're a mechanic, take out your hammer and bang it back together or something, or, just, I don't think they realize how technical it is. Even plumbing, like I said, you start pulling apart a faucet or one of these computerized showers, like we just talked about, and it's not just a couple shark bites in there and you're back up and running. Like it's pretty elaborate, and you need to know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll be there all day, trying to fix a faucet. So and with these new furnaces today, new air conditioners, the technology, everything being computerized, like every furnace you open up has a computer board in it. And we're starting to sync those things up with our phones to program them and stuff. And people don't realize like that's where the industry has gone. They just think it's like, oh, can't you just like light the fire or something with a lighter? And it's not like that anymore. It used to be like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's really advanced. The technology's come a long way, and you have to have a electronics degree
Right.
background almost, for
Right.
some of this stuff.
Yeah. And even like simple stuff like the drain, like you go to those houses where the drain's gurgling. It's not supposed to.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
designed right. It's not.
yeah.
It doesn't allowing enough air in.
Right, right, yeah. And there's always simple fixes like, oh, we're just gonna shove some Drano down there, and
Right.
maybe that'll work, and see you later, $300. But yeah, there might be a deeper problem down the. I was at my friend's house over Christmas time. We were in Virginia, and my friend's like, hey, I'm getting this crazy gurgling and stuff in my
Yeah.
plumbing, and so we go up in his attic. Long story short, and the vent piping that goes up through the attic wasn't properly supported. It had the vent had broken, and
Yeah.
so now it created a dip in the vent, and
Right.
of course rainwater gets in there over time, and now you basically have no vent on your toilets and sinks and faucets, and it causes all sorts of gurgling and problems and lack of flushing and whatever. And something as simple as understanding the complete system and
Right.
knowing that the problem's not down low, it's in your attic,
Right.
is that's something that's why we're valuable. We know the whole thing. We're not just
It's
yeah.
all of it, and then talking going back to pricing and stuff. When the good guys, the talented guys in any trade, they're the ones that maybe put that extra hanger
Yeah.
on the pipe,
Yeah.
so that one broke, but it was actually you had a bunch in there, so it's fine, and they kept it. It's our carpenters, putting that little extra glue,
Right.
that extra screw, nailing it off with the proper fasteners, like. All of those things are what gives the longevity of the
Right.
job. It all looks nice at the end.
Right. And that's
Anybody
what.
can make it look nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You could pass code,
right.
but again, do you want to just pass code or do you want a quality job?
Yeah.
And that's it's hard to find a quality job at a fair price. Is worth its weight in gold. Yeah.
We look at how clean is the truck. How meticulous are the guys with their tools? How are they dressed? Their shirt tucked in, or is it sloppy?
Mm-hmm.
Walk on the job site. How clean is it? Like, because that the guys that are really proud of what they do, they run a tight ship.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's clean or it's organized, they're kind of working in that way.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting that extra screw in. They're putting the extra.
I would say most of the time you're right. I mean, there's always the occasional outlier where you're
Right.
like, I've had guys before where you're like, hey man, your truck's a mess, but
Yeah.
like they're
They're good.
great technicians.
Yeah.
They're good, but
Yeah.
for some reason they just they put all their effort into the customer and then they
Right.
come in.
Right.
It does happen,
Yeah.
but I know where you're going with that. There is a if you are cleaning your truck, typically it does show you are
Right.
more professional. But yeah, we try to keep up on the guys too, but putting stuff on their and their windshield, putting their
Yeah.
paperwork up there or something. You want to display a clean look because that's who we are.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Any plans? You kind of. I feel like you got a good business going. Are you any ideas of thinking of reaching out to any other areas or growing to a bigger? I mean,
So yeah, I always when I added the plumbing division to our company, in the back of my mind, I always thought I would do something like that, and I always thought I would maybe add electrical as well, because
Hmm.
all the mechanicals kind of covered in
Yeah.
one business. But after seeing kind of how much I didn't know about plumbing and how much I really had to learn about plumbing, and I underestimated, how technical the trade is, it made me second guess, do I really want to add another thing that maybe isn't my personal expertise, like electrical, because
Yeah.
knowing that would be another big jump, and it makes you really depend on other people,
Hmm.
whereas I consider myself personally an expert at heating and air conditioning
Right.
and service and water heaters and boilers. But when it comes to that faucet and sink and shower diverter, yeah, I'm weak,
Yeah.
and so if I was to bring on electrical, like, I understand electricity, but I, I've now conceded that I'm not an expert
Hmm.
electrician. So we're having second thoughts on whether or not we do it. It had to be the right situation, right person
Yeah.
coming along on board. But right now, we're pretty happy where we are. We've got all the work we can handle, and
Yeah.
all the headaches we can handle.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yeah. No, we the same thing. I realized we need to go back to our core competency is management and organization of projects, and adding then a bunch of carpenters and personnel is a whole other job to be able to run that, because we need to be thinking about how we running these intricate projects. So we've brought that down a little bit, and then we had internal interior design too. But I don't know what colors to choose.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that then we now outsource interior design. So we've really moved to what we do is general contracting.
Hmm.
And I think
Right.
it's we've seen better results to stay with what you're really good at.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah. Do one thing, do it well. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, more than anything, plumbing and HVAC do overlap a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
literally half the trade is overlapping
Yeah.
between boilers and water heaters and gas piping. But so it's not too far fetched, and it's a lot of the same supplies for us.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's a good, and we're still doing the same thing. We're coming in your house, we're performing a service, then we're getting out and trying to make you happy. So it's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
No, Bill. We're happy that you
Yeah.
do both, because then
Yeah, and it makes it
it's
easier for
one
everybody.
call.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
one
Yeah, yeah,
call.
absolutely. And it's one call for our homeowner customers
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And we a lot of companies today are going to things like service contracts. Give us $400 and we'll
Mhm.
do your maintenance, and we'll give you XYZ as and we wanted to do something where we treated our customers better than just someone off the street, because we were getting a
Mhm.
lot of people calling us off the street. Hey, come fix my, you know, thing and do it now. And I don't know who you are and you don't know who I am, but come dance for me.
Yeah.
And we would, because we can't say no to anybody, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, our regular customers are like, "Hey, it's us again, and we have a problem. Can you come to us?" And we're like, "Oh, we're super busy right today. We
Mhm.
can't because of all these strangers who called us." So we wanted to implement something where, like, we want to make you know, our customers and reward them for that. So we came up with what we call our customer loyalty program. It's $5 a month,
Okay.
but you get 15% off all your service and maintenance. So if you're using us, it's a
Right.
no-brainer. It pays
Yeah.
for itself anyway. But you also get priority service over the non-customers. You get longer warranties. You get access to your what we call our customer portal. We have a new website up, fontainemechanical.com,
Okay.
fontaine-mechanical.com.
And
Sorry.
we'll do all our links
Yeah.
to all our posts that you guys will. Yeah.
And if you're a customer, you can now go on there, and through our customer portal, if you're a member of the loyalty program, you can go into your account. You can see your history. You can see everything that you've had done. You can pay your bills online through the website. You can schedule stuff through the website, and all those kind of fancy, up to date things. And there's lots of other benefits to it too. But and then when you go to do a change out, let's say 2 years from now, you go to change your furnace, all the money you spent on the customer loyalty program, which is $60 a year, you'd get back as a credit towards your
Nice.
replacement. So the idea is, we make we're loyal to you, you're loyal to us, you're getting a discount, and at the end of the day, when you do need to replace your equipment, you're getting your money back. And it's just a way of saying, hey, stay with us.
Yeah.
And
And
but people like it, and it's successful, and um, it's a win-win-win for everybody.
I love that, because you know what it is like, Mrs. Smith calls and you pull her file and what equipment's in her
Right.
home.
Yep.
And if it's a service call, and she gives you enough information, you already know what parts need to get on the truck to go out there.
Yeah, typically. Yep.
Because you have more of it instead of a cold call. Hey, I don't, I don't have heat.
Right.
Well, what do you
Yep.
have? I don't know what I have.
Yep. We got all your pictures loaded up. We can look up,
Yeah.
model numbers, serial numbers, what burner you have or whatever. And, oh, okay, you know what? It's not starting. Oh, geez, he probably has a bad capacitor or something like
Right.
that. You know what? Hey, bring a couple capacitors with you. Here's
Right.
the, yeah. So it's kind of, it's a win-win.
It makes
really
a
is.
lot of sense
Yeah.
to stay with the same.
Right.
Don't go to the next guy because he's $100 cheaper, and then all of a
Right.
sudden
Yeah.
you don't have heat for an extra day.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Or like I said, there's so many companies out there that are just treating people, in my mind, unfairly.
yeah.
And once you find a good contractor and you're being treated fair, same with a car mechanic, right? It's like, you stick with them.
Yeah.
And but so yeah, that's been what's new for us. We're trying to get up with the times and the technology.
We all are, and
Yeah.
and the technology's moving so quick. I mean, AI now. Next thing you know, there's gonna be robots doing all this stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing. I feel like these systems are kind of like cars. They're almost diagnosing themselves these
Yeah.
days in a lot of ways. But even then, it's not like they're not going in there and telling us exactly what part to change. They're just saying what's happening. Like, hey, it didn't ignite.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why didn't it ignite? You still got to know what you're doing, but it gives you somewhere to look. But yeah, I don't see our jobs going anywhere anytime soon.
Especially
that's a good thing.
Yeah, especially in the remodeling aspect. But so, Bill, awesome. I mean, that was a quick hour. We started a little early, so that was a quick hour.
Yeah, I'm in no rush. I got all day,
yeah.
so.
I appreciate you coming on. That it was I think it was just interesting to see from your perspective. Probably the key things was like if you're younger and you're thinking about what you're doing, go into the trades.
Yeah,
That's probably a big thing. Another probably key takeaway is and I think people realize it's complicated.
Yeah,
You know, the stuff's out there complicated. The other thing is you pay for what you get.
yeah.
You go with the cheap guy.
Usually.
Usually. And then sometimes, I just did a video this morning about, red flags for contractors. I think one of is that person's trying to push you to buy something more than you might need,
Mm-hmm.
and you were kind of talking about how, it might be just a fix and you don't need a new boiler.
Yeah.
So you get the 3 quotes always and see who's trying to upsell and who's just trying to get you to fix and who's just overcharging you, I think is. And then once you find somebody like yourself as a company like Fontaine, stay with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's
Like I said, find somebody who's a teacher.
Yeah.
If they can't explain, what's wrong, why it's wrong, why it went wrong, and what the repair is and what the other options are,
right.
then, find someone who will explain it to you.
Yeah.
When someone's just like, yeah, you need to do this or you need to do that. And you ask why, and they're like, well, because I said so,
Right.
no, we're teachers, and we, same with you, when you're doing a bathroom model, well, why you want to do that bathroom? Well, because this will work better like this with this, whatever, through my experience.
Yeah.
And, we'll do whatever you want, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, this whole podcast has been, trying to explain to homeowners the home ownership and what it entails. And I don't think people realize. They're like, oh, it's warm in here. It's cool in here. Oh, that's good. And, and there's filters you need to replace.
Yeah.
And there's just basic maintenance.
Well, a lot of people want to wait until it breaks, but every heating and air conditioning system needs maintenance in some way, shape, or form. Usually every year, if not every year, every other year, worst case scenario. But yeah, if you wait for it to become, if you don't do your maintenance, then you're going to be looking at a big pile up problem where it can be, okay, you got 5 things wrong here. Yeah, I can fix this one thing, get you going, but this system's not running efficiently. It's going to break again. So yeah, we do recommend yearly maintenance, and those kind of things. But a lot of people want to wait for it to break.
Right, exactly. Because you could catch it where it's just the system's really stressed.
Right.
And it's running and now you're burning out motors and you're burning out all this stuff when it simply could be, it could be just the filter needs to be replaced.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, most people could probably change their own filter, but with like refrigeration or air conditioning, we have refrigerant in the system and the refrigerant is, it's like like blood in your system, and it could be low on refrigerant. It doesn't consume the refrigerant. A lot of people think like, oh, does it use it up? No, but if there's a leak and it leaks out, it could be cooling your house on a, an 80, 85-degree day. You might be like, yeah, my cooling works fine. I don't need maintenance. It's when it gets to be a 95-degree day or humid, all of a sudden that unit doesn't keep up anymore. And guess what? Guess who else is calling on a 95-degree day? Everybody.
Right.
So we're flat out busy.
Yep.
You have no air conditioning on the hottest day of the year,
Right.
and you're wondering why we can't get there, and all of a sudden it's an emergency.
Right.
So if you would have tackled that, earlier in the season with the maintenance, we would have done your filters, done your condensate traps, and checked everything. And you're low on refrigerant. Oh, and by the way, why is it leaking out?
Right.
We should find this leak because it's going to be a yearly problem if you don't. So,
and when you're low, even if you haven't noticed it, getting that checkup can eliminate, because what ends up happening is the compressor just keeps running and running to try to keep.
Right. Oh yeah, it causes other problems.
Right. So now you're replacing lots of other things that
it could lead to early compressor failure, or other parts being stressed out because they're running longer than they should. Yeah, and just higher electric bills, right? If nothing else.
Yeah. And I be ahead of it, right? So call your company soon for the summer before the 90-degree
obviously
day.
we're kind of winding down the winter as far as maintenance season, but we're still doing maintenances this time of year for heating. For air conditioning, typically we need the weather to be a little bit warmer to be able to test it properly.
When's a good month?
April, start calling New England, when the weather starts breaking. April's usually when we start thinking about it. April, May are good maintenance months. By the time June comes, it's getting hot. If you haven't done by then, you definitely should. But June, July, August, those are go times, and we're just flat out. And then September starts, heating season all over again. So it's a cycle for us. Yeah.
And if you stay ahead of it, you can get on the schedule and
right. It's not an emergency.
Yeah. Awesome, Bill. Thanks again. I appreciate it. Obviously, I appreciate all the work you're doing for us on the contracting side. I mean, it's I got to thank Joe too. I mean, he knew you from back in the day. He brought you in.
Yep.
It's definitely good to know the plumbing and heating is getting done. Customers are ecstatic. So
well, it's a pleasure to work with good companies. The reason we we say we knew Joe from before, and knew he was good to work with. So when he came here, we were excited for an opportunity to work with you guys, knowing what we would be into. And you guys have been great. Really one of our premier builders to work for. So we're happy to have you as a good customer. So thank you.
It's good to hear. And here's the 2024. I feel like it's going to be a good relationship, and let's make a lot of happy clients.
Yeah, hopefully the economy holds up, and you never know what's down the road, but it seems like it's going to be fine in Connecticut for at least
It always is fine.
And
then when you look back, you're like, why was I stressing over any of that?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you never know what the the media is going to bring out, and if they yell at it hard enough, sometimes people believe it. But you adjust and you survive. We've all been through hard times, and but we'll see.
Yeah.
One day at a time, right? That's all you can do.
People need water. People need heat. People.
Yeah,
need
there's always
cooling.
gonna be work. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks again, Bill.
You got it, man. Thanks.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.